All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast. As we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Rockies series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every series of regular season games. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we want to let you know we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored. You're just being starred throughout the show. We will try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reactions after every single regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Post-Game. And also, for our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all of your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So, without further ado, let's get into episode number 140 of our show, as I believe my co-host is having some trouble with his camera, so we'll just let that flow in. But either way, Stanley, Odd Villain in the chat. Plenty of you guys coming in through here, through YouTube, through Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. It's the best way to communicate with us because sometimes these messages just do not go through. Matt as well, I see in the chat. We have plenty to discuss here. And let's just say we are going off of a Colorado Rockies series. We are playing a team, and we just played a team that is the epitome opposite of good. They are on pace to be one of the worst teams in the history of this game. And to be honest, they are on par with some of these teams in the 1800s. But the Mets did the job that they needed to do. And when they did do that job, not being that the that being that the Rockies entered Citi Field with 9 wins, and they exited with 9 wins as well, meaning the Mets swept them. They did what they needed to do. They beat up a team that is different levels of terrible that we haven't seen before. Frank, if your camera can withhold this, either way, they got the job done. They did what they needed to do. We're obviously not here to celebrate in the streets because it's a Rockies team that, again, is so horrible, but they beat a team that they need to beat. They stacked up the wins, and now they move on to Los Angeles against a team that is on a way opposite level as this team. So again, wins they needed to get, wins they needed to stack up. They got the job done, and they got the sweep.
Yeah, I mean, they were supposed to win this, but as we know, just with baseball and the Mets in general, nothing is ever 100% guaranteed. So it's just nice that, like you said, they got done what they had to do. And this Rockets team is a whole nother level of bad. They are now 9-50. I mean, it's just like they have gotten so bad that you now have to go further and further into the baseball record books to compare them to just how bad they are. Like, we're talking before the 1900s. We're right now back in my glory days. We're in the 1880s. Like, we are just so far back as to the kind of pace that they're currently on at 9-50. It's just absolutely insane. And they're even worse on the road. And the Mets have been awesome at home. So it was just like so many different factors that, like, it makes 100% sense why you would sweep. As far as like how they did it, the long balls was nice to see, but still struggling with men on base in general, and still a lot of like 4 runs an inning, and then you go a few innings without scoring, then you make like a run here or there. So there's still like some of that 0 to 100 from the offense they do get. So those are still some of those reoccurring trends. But overall, I mean, getting the sweep was the most important thing, and they got that done.
Yeah, obviously we have seen them play at a different level in pretty much every single game this year. Like I feel like I'm watching a different team every single night of what's going to obviously show up. It looked like they were able to get a decent amount of consistent offense and impressionable offense, obviously, with them hitting, I think it's 9 or 10 home runs in this entire series, which was good. We had our pitchers at least hold down the fort. They weren't as dominant as we expected them to be dominant against this Colorado Rockies team, like we have said, is not good. But either way, I mean, it really is a performance that they needed to have. I'm not going to take it into full investment that this is going to happen every single time because you're playing a Rockies team and, you're not going to play a Rockies team for the rest of the season. And you're going to be playing them in Colorado, so maybe you get a little bit more of the offensive advancement as well over there. But they were able to hold it down. The pitching did its job. The bullpen did its job. We'll talk a little bit more about the bullpen of, all the weight that they have been carrying of how dominant this bullpen has been to start off the season. Now that we are 2 months in and we've seen a lot of consistency within that bullpen, they got the job done. They did what they needed to do. Again, we've talked about this not being pretty, or there's been a few times where it's happened. Um, it comes to a point where the Mets need to end up stacking up these wins, and I really do direct this back to the 2 series that they played um, in these last few weeks, where you were playing the Pirates and they let them get a game, which Pirates were in that same level of offense where it just was not on par at all, and they should have beaten them, but they gave away a game. We've seen them give away a few games to the Marlins, who the Marlins are not good. We saw them give away a game to the White Sox, who are not good. So again, it wasn't something that we were like, okay, this is a guarantee, because there was a few times in this series where the Rockies got off to a lead. Like they started off with a lead. And we had to, fire back. But again, it is the Rockies, and you're like, okay, well, this is not a good team, and they needed to fix things. We have a Rockies fan in here. I apologize. I'm not here to gloat. Again, we had to do what we had to do. But he's saying congratulations on your team's win. I figured my Rockies were gonna get swept because we're so bad. It's like we're dead. I saw a few Rockies fans on the broadcast. There was one guy with a bag over his head. I don't know if he's like populated in the Rockies community or something. But
I
yeah,
would think there has to be multiple people with bags over their heads in Colorado
yeah,
right now.
he
Like he
he
can't be
had
the
he
only
had
guy.
sell the team on there. And listen,
Yep.
as Mets fans, let's just say that we've felt that before. Okay,
Yes.
we've been there before. Obviously, it's not to an entire extreme. Obviously, with us being in that market, but we dealt with an ownership that was so many different things to describe. Let's just say that. But it's all in the past now. It's all in the rearview mirror. Obviously, we have our new owner, bailed us out, took us out of our misery, and things are looking up. But we've definitely been in that position, and it's not a fun one when you know that there just isn't a when you just like you feel like there's just no end in sight. Like you just feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But this is obviously to a different extreme where the Rockies are reaching. I mean, they're reaching heights that we've never seen before. And it's one of those situations that you, for the sake of baseball, would hope that the league would step in. But to be honest, I don't think they really care that much. We all know what's going on with the A's. We all know what's going on with the Rays all the time with their funding and everything. There's a lot of embarrassing stories around baseball, and to be honest, the only thing is when it comes to all of these situations, which there is an imbalance in this game. We already know there is an imbalance from the big markets to the small markets, to the good teams, the bad teams. The only department that suffers is the fans, and I think that that's the only thing that the league just kind of forgets. So it's not a fun situation. The Rockies, I'm rooting for you guys to get your owner to sell that team, because he obviously does not give a shit whatsoever, and has no idea what he's doing. And I root for plenty of teams to have their owners sell the team, because some of them are just not great owners. A majority of them are not great owners, and they should be held accountable or get out. Either way, if there's anything else you want to add on here, because it's like, again, this is baseball. That's like, this is beyond the levels of like what we have seen before. Like, we've seen some really, really bad Mets teams. We've seen some really, really bad teams that the Mets have played, like the Marlins. They've been bottom feeders for a while, but this is a different height of disaster. And, you know, the only spotlight it's going to be seen as is a joke, which stinks. And like I said, the only aspect that suffers is the fans.
I mean, just this past season in the second half, the Rockies played the Mets pretty tough. And, you saw some guys like Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar having good series. Like, oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe the Rockies actually do have some young talent. Maybe they have some guys that could do something for you. And then even this season, you had guys like Beck and Goodman that were doing some offensive numbers. Yes, they do play in Coors Field, but when you saw them play last season just against the Mets and the way they finished the year, you're like, okay, maybe they're not going to be a playoff team, but they'll be decent. They'll be a little better. I don't think anyone projected, 9-50 through the first 59 games. I mean, they have more talent than that. Like, I know they're playing bad, but they have better players than what their record suggests. So for this to happen, I mean, it really is just crazy. And you can't even use the like tanking excuse because they're just so far behind everybody. It's not even like they're battling out with some other teams that also have really bad records. Like the Rockies are unfortunately in their own category of just having a terrible record. So it's just something that's just very sad to watch, and like it's frustrating because I mean you have like they're not even an MLB team when they're just that far behind.
Yeah.
Like you now have like I mean, the White Sox, who we just played, you could put them in that category too. But it's just not, like you said, not good for the sport where you just have teams that are so far out of it that are not trying that it takes away from a lot of different products. And it's just like you can't, it's hard to enjoy the game so much when you just see how poor the other team is because, like, generally speaking, when you finally see the Mets hit all these home runs, like you want to get excited. You want to be like, wow, here we go. These are the power bats we've been waiting to see all season long. Yeah. We had back-to-back home runs, 3 home runs in the game. Let's go. Here we come. But then you also have to say yourself, like, we don't want to get too excited like it is the Rockies. So it's like we're not.
And you could get humbled real quick when you play the Dodgers next. So
yeah, exactly. Like all of a sudden, if you go to Los Angeles and see the same stuff, the ball's not in the yard. You're like, well, I guess it's just that the Rockies are that bad. So that's the thing that kind of takes away from it too. But what I will say is the Mets, as far as a marketing standpoint, they did a really good idea to purposely put Hello Kitty weekend this weekend to still get good attendance because in general it's like no one was going to go see the Rockies, but if you put Hello Kitty involved, now people will actually buy tickets to see them play against Colorado. So at least the Mets made the most out of what seemed to be a very bad situation from a viewership standpoint.
Yeah, I saw the Mets play the Rockies. It was the post-pandemic year, so 2021. So it was like, not full capacity at the stadium. I saw a doubleheader. And I saw, I think it was like Stroman and Joey Lucchesi pitch or something like that. It was when the entire team was dead. Like you were seeing Brandon Drury get, everyday reps. Cameron Maybin was an everyday player. Like it was really bad. They won both of those games. Didn't hit for shit, but they won both of those games. Yeah. And the Rockies have always been that team in the purgatory, but now it's just it's at a different level. That's like it's so embarrassing, and you don't even want to like laugh. It's gotten to a level. It's like
it's sad
when you're at single digit win totals. When you're at single digit win totals, and it just marked the calendar of June. That is like that's a different level of bad we've never heard of. It's crazy.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, it's just sad at this point. Like, I mean, because you just don't want to see it. Like, as a baseball fan, like, it's just not what you want to be watching.
Damaging to the product.
It really is.
Very damaging.
And, like, you have these teams that go in these long playoff droughts, and it's crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, when will Colorado win a World Series? Like, when will that happen? It's going to take a while. I mean, that's for sure. Because,
Yeah.
like with baseball, I mean, it's not even those things where you could just get a number one pick and it saves your franchise. Like, I mean, we've seen even with the Pirates
Yeah.
now with Paul Skeens, like they got this generational talent, number one pick, and their team is still absolutely terrible. Like, it takes a long
Yeah.
time to like actually build a good team
From top to bottom. That's the thing. It's a lot different in here, but it's just it's crazy. Like some of these teams, it's nuts, but Rockies are putting it to a whole different level as of right now, and it's embarrassing, really is. But either way, whether it was embarrassing or not, we do need to run down what did happen in this series. Now, of course, with this being a 3-game series, coming off of the White Sox series where it was a little bit underwhelming in a way where they let that last game go go by the wayside. In fact, it didn't seem like they showed up in that final game. It seemed like they were able to hold off and get the job done a lot more efficiently in this series. Now, as for game one, David Peterson would make the start. Colorado would work his pitch count high in the first few innings, but he would settle down from there. The only run to come across would come in the 6th after a 2-out hit by pitch and a tough hop off of the glove of Mark Vientos. Ryan McMahon would get the Rockies on the board with an RBI double to knock Peterson out of the game. Huskar Brazaban would come in to finish the inning, getting Mickey Moniak to fly out and close the book on Peterson. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts on 94 pitches. The Mets offense would get started right away as Francisco Lindor would launch his 11th home run of the year from the right side of the plate to lead off the first inning. Lindor would get his second hit of the game in the 3rd, followed by an RBI double by Juan Soto to score Lindor from first and give the Mets a 2-0 lead. Starling Marte would add on in the 4th from there, launching a 432-foot shot to left center, his 3rd of the year, to make it 3-0 Mets. Huskar Brazaban would come back out for the 7th and surrender a solo shot to Sam Hilliard to cut the Mets lead to 1 run. Reed Garrett would get the 8th and toss a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. Francisco Lindor would give the Mets some insurance, blasting his 2nd home run of the night, his 12th of the year, and his 3rd hit of the game, this time from the left side of the plate, extending the Mets lead to 4-2. Edwin Diaz would come on for the save in the 9th, and he would strike out the side for the first time since September the 9th of last year to finish May going 12 for 12 in save opportunities, securing game 1 win 4-2. Game 2, Kodai Senga would make the start, and after surrendering a solo home run to Ezequiel Tovar, he'd shut down the Rockies down from there, retiring 17 batters in a row before running into some trouble in the 7th, allowing 2 base runners on walks, only getting 1 out. He'd allow 2 earned runs. He would allow his 2nd earned run on an RBI single and exit the game for Jose Butto, who would finish the inning working around a walk of his own to close the book on Senga. 6 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts on 92 pitches. Down 1-0 in the 1st, the Mets would have the bases loaded with 1 out for Brett Baty, who would smoke a 3-run triple to center field to put the Mets in front. Tyrone Taylor would drive in Baty on an RBI single to extend the Mets lead to 4-1. The Mets would add on in the 4th after a 2-out single by Francisco Lindor. Brandon Nimmo would launch his 9th home run of the season, a 2-run shot. Juan Soto would follow that up on the next pitch with a home run of his own, his 9th of the year, to make it 7-1 New York. Jose Butto would come back for the 8th and retire all 3 batters he faced with the help of a 6-4-3 double play to end the inning. Jeff McNeil would pile on the lead with his 3rd home run of the year, and the changeup specialist Chris Davinsky would get the 9th and work around a 1-out double to finish the game, handing Colorado their 22nd consecutive series loss in Game 2, 8-2. And in Game 3, Clay Holmes would make the start, and despite getting hit hard a bit, surrendering a solo shot in the first inning and a 2-run shot in the 5th inning, he would be able to post 7 strong innings with 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts on 85 pitches, down 1-0 in the 4th. Pete Alonso would give the Mets a 3-1 lead with 1 swing, his 12th home run of the year, with those 3 RBIs officially passing Howard Johnson for 4th all-time on the Mets runs batted in list. With the game tied at 3 in the 5th, Francisco Lindor would give the Mets the lead right back, launching his 13th home run of the year and his 2nd from the right side of the plate in this series. Reed Garrett would come in for the 8th and work a scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts, stranding a 1-out walk and a stolen base. Juan Soto would give the Mets some insurance with a solo home run of his own, his 10th home run of the year, to make it 5-3 Mets. Edwin Diaz would come on for the save, and after Sam Hilliard would snap his 30 consecutive hitless batters streak, Diaz would strike out the next 3 batters to end the game and notch his 13th save out of 13 opportunities this season to complete the sweep of the Rockies 5-3. The Mets are now 37-22, tied for the best record in the National League. And with a sweep of Colorado and Milwaukee sweeping Philly, they have reclaimed first place in the National League East with a 1-game lead over the Phillies. So plenty to unpack in this series as per usual. It is one of those things where, again, grain of salt, this is a team that is historically bad that they're playing. Apologize to Rockies fans for how many times we are saying this, but it is true. I think we can all say it's really, really tough to say that this was a statement winning series, the way that the Mets kind of, put this thing together. But again, we saw more strong pitching. We saw our top hitters start to, perk up a little bit the way that they did. I think, as Frank continues to try and configure his camera here, I will go into the chat, obviously. I think, there was one thing. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. To my Rockies fan, you still beat the Yankees. I mean, they took 1 from him, right? Yeah, 22 consecutive series losses for the Colorado Rockies, which is unfathomable. Either way, positives, negatives. Frank, I will move it over to you again if your camera permits. I don't know what's been going on here. Just very inconsistent browsers, I guess. I don't know what's going on, but what did you see here from these 3 games, putting it all together?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the Mets still shuffling up the lineups. That's something that they still are trying to figure out. I liked what I saw from Nimmo in the 2-hole. I think he looked more like the Brandon Nimmo that we're used to, that we're accustomed to. And it's kind of like we said, but it's more so like you have to find the right combination for your players that fit them. Not so much like, ideally it's like, oh, well, we want Brandon Nimmo to be like this power hitter. But if that's not his game, if he's a table setter, we'll put him in a table setter spot in the lineup. And I feel like at that 2-hole, he just looks more like he plays to his strength. So that's something that I did enjoy seeing. But overall, like we said, I mean, there's just a lot of inconsistencies with the lineup that they're constructing. I mean, for Vientos, like he's got some 2-hole reps, but then, today he bats 7th. So it's just those things where they still have not been able to kind of figure out everybody and where they're supposed to be. But Brett Beatty still looks really good defensively at third base. I mean, he made a lot of nice plays today. He's getting really good at those throws on the run and just picking the ball up on the run. So that's been nice to see. But overall, it's like you do have to decide, like, what is it that you do with someone like Vientos? Because if his defense is struggling as much as it's been, and I really don't know what happened in that department, because he was not good last year defensively, but he felt like he was making routine plays last year at third. This
Yeah.
year, I feel like even the routine plays he's struggling with, he just can't really seem to move too well over there. And I wonder if all the struggles that he's having offensively might be affecting him at the other end, as far as his focus might be a little messed up, his confidence might be a little shot.
Possible.
Because they were saying that for Beatty, he just looks more confident at third base too. So I wonder if that's a part of it. But it's like you want to have Vientos out there because of how great he was for you last season in the postseason. This year, it just hasn't happened yet. So I'm still very curious to see what they decide with that. Ronnie Mauricio is playing tremendous in AAA right now. I don't know how long they'll keep him there, but I mean, these are all just things they have to consider, because it's like we've talked about it with Marte too, but it's just like eventually, if you have other options, you got to make some decisions. I mean, it's like, even though you were great for me last year, it's very much a what have you done for me lately kind of business. So it's like, if Beatty was bad last year and Vientos was good, but now if you have the reverse this year, well, then Beatty plays. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
guaranteed for a lot of these guys. Some of the players, they do get to play a lot due to contracts, but with young players, they don't have contracts yet. So we're going to get into Alvarez later and how he impacts Luis Torrens, because that's an even better example of, what a guy did for you in the past and what a guy's doing for you this season. You have to go with what they're doing this season. I mean, because past success is not going to help you today. So, I mean, those are just some of the things that is very interesting to me, that once again, they're still trying to figure out that right combination. Tyrone Taylor is doing really good on both ends. I mean, they were showing the pregame. Look at the Baseball Savant page. He's got some red circles and high red circles. So we're talking like 90s as far as the percentiles defensively on the bases. He broke up. He got the first Mets hit today. So, I mean, he's just done a lot of productive things for this team from that center field position. So he's another one that, like, once Jose Siri comes back, how do you decide that playing time? So it's just like a lot of things they're trying to figure out. Then we talked about last episode, is Jared Young a factor? So there's still a lot of questions that they're trying to answer that they don't know quite yet, because of just so many inconsistencies with performance, with playing time. I mean, there's just a lot of different factors going on.
Yeah, I mean, we can eventually break down along with Vientos, because he's another young player on this team that is struggling. We will talk about Francisco Alvarez in a little bit. But when it comes to Vientos's entire, rep with everything, we knew that, his main value was always going to end up being his bat. Is it possible that the defensive woes are getting to him with maybe Brett Beatty being here? Because we all know that with Mark Vientos, when he had all of his playing time last year, Brett Beatty wasn't here. Like, Brett Beatty was in AAA. He was here as like the 27th man a few times. Like, there really wasn't much from Beatty there at that point. And I think that I feel like they're in this stuck in the middle type of thing. And it seems like what they have right now, they still just have not been able to make a decision, because, like we say, there is a new lineup every single day. And it seems like they're trying to play the matchups, and everybody has to play. Everybody needs a fortune cookie to have press their luck here. And I just don't think that that's the way to grab that consistency. And I just don't think that's the smart way to run a baseball team for some of these guys to get into a rhythm, because a rhythm and repetition and reps like this, they're important, whether it is for these veteran players or for these young players. And I don't want to go to that point where, like, okay, the only value you're getting from Mark Vientos is a DH. But I think in context with this team right now is, you're not getting anything from Marte. Who knows what Jared Young's going to give you? Winker is not coming back anytime soon. So I think there is something, to be had, and a conversation to be had with what they're going to actually do with Mark Vientos. Because if they're going to keep doing this split time between taking Beatty out of the lineup to not play third base, have him playing second, doing all these things, moving McNeil to center field, you're just hurting yourself. I really just think that they continue to do that type of thing. Now, with Beatty, obviously, he has been, since he came up, I mean, he's had about, I don't know, what is it? It's like 70 plate appearances since, and he's been fantastic. I hope it continues to stick. I do. because he's looked a lot better. This is the best stretch I've seen from Brett Baty in the major leagues for his entire career. It doesn't say much because of what we have seen from him. But, as to what we saw at the beginning of the year before he was demoted, it's definitely a lot bigger of a difference. It's not just because of him just being a competitive player. He actually looks like someone who could be a contributor for this team if this keeps going. I'm saying this if it keeps going because we need to see consistency. It always will be consistency with Brett Baty. Sometimes he will show up, he'll have the hot streaks. Sometimes it just completely disappears. So he's going to have to find that median as to what Vientos earned last year. And if he continues to hit, he will continue to play. However, when it comes to Vientos, I don't think I want to have this temporary whole thing with him at third base because I don't think this works out. I don't think third base is working out for him at all right now. Like there's absolutely no way. You need to just cut your losses at some point. He needs to get better at third base on his own time and not on the field during game time because it's hurting this team. It is hurting this team. His defense has become a noticeable liability this year. So if they have to make him do the DH stuff, go ahead, do the DH stuff. But for some reason, there always seems to be this interchangeable thought that a young player and a veteran player continues to be that same level of everybody has to play. Marte doesn't have to be the alternative for Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos, we know, can be a bigger impact bat than somebody like Starling Marte. He has been a bigger impact bat, especially last year, because we know what Starling Marte is capable of. And I know I'm saying this so viciously because Starling Marte homered in this series, but come on. Like, let's be real for a second. The development of a young player, or the development of a young hitter matters a lot more than some veteran who is completely overpaid. $36 million is going to get paid no matter what. And for some reason, he's a clubhouse guy that they just can't seem to move on from. And I don't want to compare that to any, the definition of insanity, but it comes to a point where you're like, okay, make a decision here. Somebody's got to make a decision because you're only going to be adding to the formula. You're not going to be subtracting if you don't make a decision because you're going to have plenty of infielders, and I mean plenty, that are going to be ready at this level at some point. So you're going to have to make a decision. You are. You also, Drew Gilbert's another one. Ronnie Mauricio, we know the two of them. Those are the two highlighted guys as of right now in AAA that we are looking out for. We'll see what goes on with Ronnie Mauricio, how they bring him back. Is he going to get some DH reps? Is he going to play third base or second base? We'll see how all of that pans out. But I think if we're looking at this infield, and I don't know if you were here for this discussion, I don't think you were. I think if you're talking about the lowest of the leaderboard, because obviously Baty has played well, and Vientos is still trying to find that consistency again and still struggling a little bit, but they're giving him a little bit more of a leash. I think that the odd man out as of right now is Luis Angel Acuna, who in May was not great. April, he showed a little bit. May, not great. Andrew and I, I'm pretty sure, talked about this like 2 episodes ago on the show of, it's hard to let go of somebody like Luis Angel Acuna given what he can provide compared to everybody else on this roster that is not very fleet of foot. But I don't know if it's the lack of playing time. The lack of playing time becomes the lack of production, probably with Baty playing the way that he is and them wanting to get Vientos in the lineup and Jeff McNeil back here. I think Luis Angel Acuna is probably the next guy out of here if they do decide to make a move. But I'm really starting to question the utilization of how they dope this out, because they're going to have to make a decision at some point with one of these guys, because you can't have a team full of with like nine infielders like that it can't blend in that way. And I know that you can get this value from everybody and it's seen as a good problem to have, but for them to get consistency as an offense, as a team, there's just going to be it's nearly impossible to line things up day to day. I don't really understand why there's a different lineup every day. I don't understand the structure of the roster sometimes. I don't know. Is that something else that you agree on here with Acuna? Because like I don't know how you plug this in to make this team either better or more consistent. I just don't know how you do it with the young guys, the older guy. Like it's just so there's so many different angles right now from this infield because it's getting a little crowded.
Yeah, I think once you have Jose Siri ready to go, like I feel like he has to be on the major league roster, so you can't have him and Acuna here. So I feel like that would be a pretty
Yeah.
good one-for-one swap, and that would give you another outfielder as opposed to an infielder. And then when it comes to Mauricio, if they decide to call him up, I would think that Jared Young would be the one to go down, and that gives
Yeah.
you another bat for a bat in that sense. And then like we said, we don't even know what's going on with Winkers. So I mean, that's something that we could decide once that comes. Because who knows? Maybe someone else will be hurt by then, or someone else could be struggling really bad, and then you have to make another decision. But I think for right now, that would be the method that I would go, because the one thing that Acuna does give them is that pinch runner, is that defensive replacement on the days where Vientos does make a start. He is a backup shortstop, which is the only guy on the team outside of Lindor that can play shortstop. So there are a few things that he does, but not much. And he's still making starts. He started today and he went 0 for 3. And we're still seeing, whether it's him, one of the other young players we'll get to later, a lot of those mistakes with hitting approach as far as chasing breaking balls, taking fastballs down the plate. Acuna is one of those culprits. So, I mean, it's like we said, if you want to change the way your offense has been performing and struggling, you got to change the players who are making the mistakes most frequently. And the young guys, for the most part, are some of them. I mean, Vientos, same thing. He's chasing a bunch of breaking balls as well. So a lot of the young players certainly are struggling. And then, like we said, they're still trying to find out what is that right mix. They haven't found it yet. But I hope they do. I feel like with Vientos, like you said, it's like, let's say like right now Marte and Vientos both are struggling. You would just kind of play it out with Vientos because the upside is just way higher, where it's like, oh well, there's a much better chance that you get Vientos of last year than Marte of 2022. So I feel like if both of them are struggling, you might as well just stick with the young player and see if they can figure it out and get back on track. Whereas with the older player, we know that his lower half is compromised, not the player he used to be, and it's not gonna all of a sudden turn around.
Yeah, we'll see what they do as they progress with Ronnie Mauricio. I think that they're still trying to get him to 100%. I'm sure there's Mets fans who believe that he's ready. I'm sure there's Mets fans that don't really care if he comes up here and want to see more playing. It seems like you're trying to jam pack everybody into a lineup, and it's you're just putting names into a hat of who gets to play and who should be playing the next day. Because like we know that the platoon the platoon standard, it doesn't always show. We've seen Marte get plenty of ABs against right-handed pitching, which we didn't expect. We've seen Beatty start to get ABs against left-handed pitching. So again, it doesn't seem consistent in any way, and it's showing throughout the lineups of what we are seeing. But either way, with this series in front of us, I think that again, it was one of those things where I feel like a few times in this series they were letting that Rockies hang around a little bit, and they weren't putting the hammer down at all when they had those opportunities. They started off June with a technically efficient runners in scoring position performance, which was 1 for 2, which is a very small sample. And to be honest, is something that you should probably glare at, but getting only 2 opportunities against a Colorado Rockies team whose pitching staff is so awful. But I think, again, with the hitting approach, we'll eventually have that discussion. We know that we're pushing it, you keep kicking the can down the line, of course. But we need to have some perspective in this and gather everything that we can to have that type of discussion, because it is a big discussion when you're talking about an entire team that struggles with this entire
But they're
entire
first
thing.
place.
They are in first place now. They're back in first place. Shut up, nerd.
Best
But
record in the league. I mean,
again, we can have plenty of positivities and meditations here and sing kumbaya, but there's also some of the reality of the situation. I do want to get into the reality of the situation, and a reality that I don't think, Frank, you wanted to discuss at all. I don't think this is something that you ever wanted to see, but it's happening right now, and it's very, very noticeable. And that being the play of Francisco Alvarez at the current moment, which has just not been great. We have seen him since coming back from finger surgery, thumb surgery, and we're just not seeing the hitting consistency. We're not seeing the power whatsoever. We're also seeing it affect him behind the plate a little bit. I know that either it was yesterday or in game one, he almost got thrown out in right field.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Not jogging to first base. I mean, we're getting to some territories that are really, really rough right now, and I'm not trying. I'm trying not to overreact, because we're not in a state where it's completely hurting this team, because we know that the pitching is still continued to be consistent with him behind the plate, whether it's him or Torrens. Torrens has been playing better, and he's outplayed him probably since he's gotten to the Mets, to be honest. But to fully break down what we've been seeing from Francisco Alvarez, we already know that one component of as to why he has this approach. But I think we're also getting to these self-inflicted levels with Alvarez. And it really just starts from here as to, as through 92 plate appearances. We're seeing the lack of contact, a lot of swings and misses in the first percentile in whiff rate, still plenty of chances. He's being aggressive, not aggressive. He seems just constantly in between, and it continues to hurt him. Not the best quality of contact at all. He's in the bottom 10% in nearly every single one of those expected metric categories. He's hitting the ball on the ground way too much. He is not pulling the ball. He's not pulling the ball in the air. He's still hitting the ball hard, but it seems to continue to be empty exit velocity, which we mean is missing the sweet spot, and also just constant erratic swings from whenever he continues to make contact. We are seeing his hitting. We're not seeing anything. We're really just not seeing a Francisco Alvarez that we expected. I'm not seeing the middle of the lineup type bat that we were expected to have when he came up as a prospect. I am seeing a young player that is completely lost. And we've seen this for a good amount of time to think that, okay, maybe something needs to be addressed here. We know that there's one major thing that we would love to address, and maybe that could probably help him. But right now, I think we're getting to the point where it's a lot more mental than just completely constructional here. And I do want to ask this question. I ask you guys in the chat here about it as well. Frank, I know I don't know if you're coming from a more passionate feel from this. Do the Mets need to consider sending Francisco Alvarez down to AAA? Because I think there really is a point to where, because Luis Torrens is playing so well, Alvarez needs to play every day, and he's not going to be playing every day with what you have gotten from Luis Torrens. Not to mention him still being so young, 23 years old. I'm just really, really, I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of seeing just really, really bad baseball from this kid, where it just seems like his head's not on straight, or we're just not seeing the skills translate to the major leagues the way that we were seeing it 2 years ago, which wouldn't really make sense, would it? Because of how young he is. but I really think that there is a conversation to be had about, is it time to just give him some time in AAA, clear his head, clear the slate, come back in whatever it is. But I think that's probably the best right now, and maybe get him away from the certain person that is being discussed in the chat right now, which we can't really not mention with this discussion because his name is pretty much bleeding all over it. But Franco, what are your thoughts here? Because it's just like we're just seeing I'm seeing a mail it in like that. That's kind of how I'm seeing it, and I don't want to see that from a young player. Just continuing to go through the motions. It's just I'm seeing a little too much of this where, yikes, just full out yikes.
Yeah, there's been too many yikes. There's not been enough Francisco Alvarez. I mean, with what he's capable of, and I think one of the things that's interesting to note. I mean, you showed the pull balls, but I mean, like when it comes to batted ball data, 2023, the year that he had those 25 home runs, you're like, okay, here he comes. But he had 44.3 percentage pull on batted balls. He then went down to 34.8 last year. And now this year it's down to 29.1. And those home runs that he was hitting in 2023, a lot of them were pulled. And he is just right now, like we've said, I mean, there are times where you see a ball that's in the zone, one that he should absolutely crush. And if he does hit it, it's a single to right field. It's just like not what Francisco Alvarez is supposed to do, used to do. So it's just so strange to me is that like he's such a young player and you're like, okay, let's try this new approach and just abandon what you were doing, change your swing, change your stance, and then he's doing even worse with it. And then it's like, oh, well, you know what? Never mind. Just go back to what you were doing. I just like it's tough with a young player when you're constantly changing what you're preaching and what they're doing. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know if it will work. It has to be better, I would think, because it's hard to be worse than what we're seeing right now. Because this is just not what he's capable of. You know what? It's like if he has power, let him use his power. He was not a contact hitter, so don't make him a contact hitter. It's kind of like I talked about earlier with Nimmo. It's like if Nimmo is a table setter, leave him as a table setter. Don't make him a middle of the order bat if that's not his strength. That's not his specialty. So listen, right now Chavez is here. Chavez is going to stay because the Mets are in first place. And it's like if the Mets are in first place, they don't care what's going on with Francisco Alvarez. But, Luis Torrens has clearly been the better option. But Alvarez still provides good defense compared to. I mean, you can try Hayden Singer again, but it's like with catcher, whichever one is still going to play a few times a week. It's not something where it's like, oh, we'll just play Torrens every day. Like it doesn't work like that. So he's still either catcher's gonna have to play a good amount of times. So you want to feel good about both. I mean, Alvarez is someone that we can't forget. He's a very confident player, generally speaking. Like he has a pretty high ego. He has that tattoo, the best, across his neck. So I am not sure how the best would react to a send down to AAA. I feel like that might mess him up. I mean, we've heard before about like Chavez saying, actually, you know what? You thought you had a good season, but I don't think you did. I feel like you could have been better. We've seen how that's affected his mental state before. So it doesn't always work for everybody. I mean, some players could use it as motivation and then be like, okay, well, I'm going to make them pay for that. Or it could really just kind of put them down the wrong path and they're not really able to bounce back from there. So that's the thing that's interesting to me is that if he goes down to minor leagues, let's say he just lets it fly, starts hitting home runs, and he's pulling them. Then let's say he comes back up and Chavez is like, wait, what are you doing? Why are you pulling balls? I mean, I want you to go opposite field. What are you doing? So that's kind of where I'm at is that I feel like when you make this kind of adjustment, when you're saying just be the total opposite of a hitter you were, I don't know if it's something that after 2-3 months you could be like, okay, let's revert back. I feel like it's something that you have to kind of work on in an off season and maybe try again next year or something because you're just seeing, like you said, a totally different guy in every aspect.
Yeah, this does not look like the Francisco Alvarez that was, that was promoted to us from the very beginning when he became, one of our top prospects, as he went through the minor league system. This just does not look like Francisco Alvarez whatsoever. And we know that there's a difference between the minor leagues and the major leagues. very obvious, is the main reason as to why. But we're constantly seeing a hitter that's just completely lost. I don't even see him using the approach half of the time. I am basically just there's been times this year so far where I'm seeing him. He basically looks like he wants the AB to be over. Like I don't. I hate saying things like that about such a young kid and trying to, criticize it in that way. But it's very noticeable how this has changed, especially when you know what he was capable of 2 years ago. And I know that a lot of people will constantly tell me that, well, he's coming back from hand surgery. He can't feel the bat. He can't feel this and he can't feel that. It's like that we were saying this last year too. Like this is the same thing. Like this is the same situation that we're talking about. It's like, I don't know how many times we can talk. Is this just a guy who gets completely pummeled by injuries and he can't find any of that consistency? Is this a guy who's just, not what he was made up to be? Like these questions eventually will have to be answered. And again, I understand that the catching position is a lot different to develop. Usually a 23-year-old catcher, a 21-year-old catcher isn't up in the major leagues. But the problem is that whether you're stunting his growth or not, the offense was the main advertisement for him. That was his thing. And the fact that we are seeing an offensive player that looks not just overmatched, but just completely lost, caught guessing constantly, it's just it's just very demoralizing, especially when you're trying to give the young guy a leash, you're trying to allow him to play, but then also in context, you have the guy at the position named Luis Torrens, who has been a big factor for this team behind the plate, at the plate, lots of situations. Since he's come over to the Mets, he's been a huge part to this team. More than a lot of people, I think, know, than a lot of people realize. He's been a huge impact to this team. So it's really, really hard to make those types of decisions. And I do think that they do need to consider sending him down, not just because if it's about his production or what he's doing right now, because again, it's still a small sample. He hasn't even had 100 plate appearances yet. He's close to the 100 plate appearance threshold here. But I feel like we just need to clear it. Like we need to clear his mind at this point because Luis Torrens is outplaying him right now. Luis Torrens should be playing a lot more than him, and he's proved that he should be playing a lot more than him. And the only way that Alvarez is going to learn or develop or, not hit a bump in the road is if he plays every day. The only way he can do that is in AAA Syracuse. And I hate saying that because of what we saw from him. It's what we saw from him at one point, but I guess this is also just comes to a conclusion that this player is still young, and maybe there's some things that he still does need to work out in AAA some way, and maybe we get lucky again where something clicks for him, and Brett Beatty, just like with Brett Beatty coming back from AAA and being optioned down to AAA. I really don't know. I'm kind of running out of answers for it. But as for the expectation we had, and it's tough to put it on the young kid, but I really am not seeing anything close to what was advertised. And it's really, really concerning, especially when we've seen what is advertised at the upper levels of the minor leagues too. It's not like, oh, well, he kind of just flamed out in high A or he flamed out here. No, he was doing great. He was doing great in Binghamton. He was doing great with Brooklyn. He was doing, pretty good in AAA too, for the most part of the ABs that he got there. And maybe he does need a little bit more ABs there. I don't know what it is. M-Easy saying, if you send him down, then who is the backup catcher? It probably will end up being Hayden Sanger, who was up here on opening day with Alvarez going down. I just want to know what the answer is. Like, is this a mental thing? Is this a coaching thing? Probably is, with how put on a notice it is. Is it just an overall health thing with him where he just can't grip the bat properly and he's not able to control what is going on in the box? Because that just sounds like somebody who needs to have some time in AAA. I don't know if that's how you feel. I really don't want to. I don't know how many times we can see, you know, the dead horse get beat here, where it's very, very obvious that he is struggling right now to find any consistency, find anything at the major league level right now. And it's so sad considering what we have seen him do at the major league level, even younger than he is right now.
Yeah, I feel like there's a player on the Mets that I could compare it to Tyrone Taylor. He said the change that happened for him this season was the Mets told him to be more athletic and not so much thinking about mechanics and all these other things, just kind of going out there and playing. And I feel like with Alvarez, a young player, I would kind of like to see him just go out there and play, use his athleticism, use his power, and see what happens. But to your point, if you send him down to AAA and you see him just like again let it go, starts hitting home runs, then you know the physical thing is not a thing. So it's like that's one thing that you can kind of cross off. So like you
Yeah.
said, you just have to figure out like which part of it is it. And if we could just start like narrowing it down, then we'll know, okay, well it's more mental. Oh, okay, it's more coaching. Like then we'll know for
Because
sure
you
it's
still
one of
have more
those.
time to do this. That's what I mean. It's like you still have
Yes.
more time to do this. It's not like he's
And you would
27
want to
years
get
old
him,
right
and
now.
it's like if you could get him to be what he's capable of, like you just feel like right now it's not going to happen in the big league. So it's like send him down now while it's
Yeah.
June, and then if he does get it going by the time season's done, like wow, now you have an awesome offensive catcher ready to go for the postseason. But even then, in the right now, Torrens is playing so well. I mean, Torrens had the highest WRC plus for all the Met hitters in the month of May. So, I mean, that's something that's to consider that you're like, well, if he was our best hitter of the month, why would he not be starting for us regularly? Like, that's just
Yeah.
counterproductive. So, and Alvarez was one of their worst. So it's just like, generally speaking, from a baseball standpoint, you wouldn't sit down one of your worst hitters. I mean, and you wouldn't sit one of your best hitters and rest one of your worst. Like, it's just like not how you would do it. So, I just feel like right now, Torrens has shown he's the better by a lot. Like it's not even close. Like it's by a pretty significant margin.
Yeah.
They just have to like go. I mean, I mentioned the recap, but today Torrens almost hit a homer. Like it was to right center.
Yeah.
He crushed it with Alvarez. He hasn't been close to a home run in a while. Like he hit a home
No.
run in his first series again, as far right field as you could go. Not like vintage Alvarez that we know what he can do. So it's just like he doesn't show, like you said, there's not much improvement there. Like we're not seeing him turning it around or looking more like himself. So, like you said, right now, since Torrent's such a better option, you start him, let Alvarez figure it out in AAA, and then you can see where you go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a weird question because again, it's really hard to articulate what the issue is here, just because catchers have such a big responsibility as compared to other positions, obviously. But there's something wrong here that like I'm willing to, with a 23-year-old, say, okay, let's take a step back. Let's figure out what the issue is here and let's try to solve it. Because again, it's not just like, oh, well, this guy was number one on MLB Pipeline. He has to be good. We have to force him down everyone's throat. No, we've seen him be good before. So it's been a situation where we've seen him provide that power that we're known as. We've seen a lot of baseball that he has played where he's shown that, power first bat that he was scouted to be as. And then, of course, along with the defense being a lot advanced as compared to the typical 21-year-old catcher that he was 2 years ago, I feel like we're taking a step back. I feel like we're constantly just minimizing what this kid can do. And I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if it's presence in the dugout. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what it is, but they're going to have to try and figure out the problem, because if they're going to continue to be like, okay, just play through this, I don't see this getting any better. Because like I just showed, some of the underlying numbers and some of those pieces that they have on here, it's not encouraging whatsoever. We're not seeing him put good swings. We're not seeing competitive ABs. And we're also seeing some mental mistakes too from him. Like I said, he almost got thrown out at first from right field because he was not hustling in game 2 of this series, which I believe Frank was at that game. I don't know
Yeah,
if
no,
he was able.
I was
Yeah.
at that game, but I mean, it's kind of like we've talked about before. But I mean, you have certain players on his team that the speed is so
Yeah.
low that you really need to be hustling. Like, there's certain guys
Yeah.
that like they're 50%, they're 75% is better than someone's 100%. But when you're not fast to begin with, like, you really got to move, because that would have been like the ultimate embarrassment. So I mean,
Yeah.
he's lucky that
That
he avoided that. But I mean, that could have been really bad. I mean, the one thing I will say though that is like I've talked about it with some of the other guys, but he's another player where his home and away splits are very drastic. He's hitting 150 at home and 317 on the road. OPS of 411 at home and 830 away. So Mets have a road trip now. I mean, maybe a trip to Coors Field next weekend is exactly what the doctor ordered, and we can maybe see him string together some quality performances. I don't know why that's the case, but
yeah.
that's the one split that is encouraging for him.
I mean, City Field is a pull hitter's
Also,
park.
zero RBIs at home too. All his RBIs are on the road.
Yeah.
Is very few of
Again,
7.
it's like City Field is a pull hitter's park. So again,
Yeah.
if you're talking about it from, you know, a lot more pull pulled fly balls either leave the yard or result in extra base hits in City Field, considering the like not the capacity, the overall dimensions on that field in general inside the confines, of course. And I don't know. I just constantly I'm seeing a lot of half-ass swings. I'm seeing a lot of just staring at pitches as well. It's not it's just so much, you know, it's so much wrong, such an awful approach that I'm seeing from him where I just feel like we're wasting our time here. And we need to figure out something else or this is going to just continue to get worse. I really am just getting, I'm getting I'm getting a little bit aggravated in the way that this is being handled. And it has nothing to do with defending Alvarez or backing up Alvarez. It's the fact that this collaborative altogether of how they're playing him, how they're tossing him into the fire, how this approach is, maybe rushing him back from certain injury. Maybe that's possible that they did because he came back pretty quick from some substantial thumb surgery, shall I say, or finger surgery. I don't know. Was it? That was his. It was his thumb, right? Was it his thumb that he
Well, last year
thumb?
was the thumb. This year was the hamate bone, which is like right by
Okay.
the pinky on the that bony part. I mean, the
Okay.
meaty part, like to the left of the hand. So I mean, or
Okay.
depending what hand it's on. But yeah, but he had both on the same hand. So
Yeah.
that's something that is pretty interesting. But and he even had last year like the shoulder thing. So that's like we said. Like, at least in the minor leagues, at least we can maybe rule out some of the stuff to know like exactly what's going on.
Yeah, that's kind of how I want to figure it out here. It really has nothing to do with what his numbers are right now. I think it's just more of thinking about this in the long term, especially when you have a safety net of Luis Torrens the way that he has been playing. And I think that that's something that they do need to consider to send him down to AAA Syracuse. It has really nothing to do with the performance. It's really just more of ironing things out of what they're going to actually do with him because I think it is a little bit concerning to just see him completely disintegrate like this. Um, whether you have impressive numbers or not in 2023, he was an impact bat for them. He gave you 25 home runs. He tied Johnny Bench for the rookie catcher record. So I mean, it goes to show of like this is a completely different Francisco Alvarez, and I feel like it's basically just completely made him lost. I really am just very, um, I'm very leaning off right now of Francisco Alvarez, where I'm like I'm thinking of him as an afterthought, and I'm like, okay, Torrens is the guy for the job right now, and whatever Alvarez is doing, whatever Alvarez is doing. I don't think I can see him right now as the future plan right now, to just to be the guy going forward, even though they want him to be that, and I know that they're high on him. It's just we're not seeing it. We just are not seeing it on the field, and I don't know. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what the issue is. but I want them to figure it out and not just continue to do what they are doing right now, which is just putting him out there into the fire, playing him, I don't know, every other day or giving him 2 days off, splitting time. Like it's very inconsistent. And it goes with the rest of the lineup too, where we have a different lineup every single day. Nobody can play every single day aside from, the stars that they have in the Lindor and Alonso and Soto. But I think again,
It's an offense
it
that can
comes to
put you
how
to sleep. I mean, that's for sure.
yeah, it's definitely something that I've definitely tired myself out going into this show that we've had. So either way, um, it's just one thing that I really want to point out here is maybe there is a strong possibility that he's just not healthy. Like it's possible. Like I'm trying to find a way as to what's going on here because again, not just him being 23 years old and it's not over here, but again, we've seen him produce the power that was advertised at the beginning. So when he's not doing that in 2024, 2025 here, he is recovering from surgery. Like I'm trying to figure out what the deal is here. And I feel like the Mets are just trying to ignore this. Like they're just trying to ignore it and just let him go. Like they're just trying to let him go. Um, Ken here in the chat saying, do you think that 25 home runs was an aberration? The league has adjusted to him. Listen, I think it's it's a little bit of both, obviously, with young guys of can they hit the fastball, can they hit the breaking ball, like that's the time of adjustments with young guys. We've seen Vientos go through a lot of the things with that. I will say it seems like he's getting the same amount of pitches to hit than he was in 2023. Like he like most of the pitches he's getting in the zone are near 50%. This year he's at like 49%. So it's basically the exact same.
We also have stories of literally Chavez saying change your approach and Alvarez himself saying that he's changed his approach and the broadcast saying they're watching Alvarez in batting practice purposely go to the opposite field. So it's like there's multiple things that show that he is actually trying to do something totally different than what he did that season as far as his approach.
I don't know.
Don't forget the batting
I really
average is
don't
higher,
know.
guys. I mean, those people who love batting average, the batting average is higher now. So, I mean, did the Chavez accomplish his goal of getting his average up? Because he did that, but overall, he made a worse player.
Yeah, it's again, I don't know. I don't know what he's pointing out. And if batting average is the main goal for a power first guy, I mean that is insane. I just don't know what's going on here. I would love to be.
I mean, listen,
behind the closed doors here.
For Alonso, like, has this new approach worked? I mean, he's going opposite field. He's hitting for high average. His home runs are way down. So it's like, we're seeing a lot of these guys that it looks like that's the case. I guess with the right-handed hitters maybe, but I mean that's what I've seen because Alonso average is way up, but home runs are way down.
Yeah, I don't know.
For a guy that, again, like, are known as power hitters, like their strength is power, but they're not building upon that. They're just trying to turn them into something else.
It's possible. We already know what is floating over our heads as of right now with that entire topic. And I don't want to go off completely because it's too long of a conversation. Now, I do want to get a little bit more positive in this way of performance because I think it's really easy to give a spotlight to a certain pitcher because the pitching's been fantastic this season. I think we all can agree that it's been a breath of fresh air what we have seen, what David Stearns has been able to do from up top in the pitching department. It's definitely translated to the field this year. And if anybody disagree, I don't know what to tell you. But this is, I mean, the way they pieced it together has been fantastic. Now, I do want to talk about this bullpen. Because of how dynamic it has been this year. We know that they've pretty much put everybody in these high leverage situations and they've excelled in it. And they're pretty much in every single category, among the top as of right now with this bullpen. And you're also seeing just complete dominant performances from individual guys, whether it's their latest stretch or just what they have been doing all season. So I want to do a little bit of a rundown of some strength and relief here, which has been life saving for this Mets team. Especially with how the offense has been underperforming. Like we have said, the pitching has been carrying a lot of weight. The guy at the top and the guy that you see on the right here is nice picture of him getting excited. Reed Garrett, who has been incredible, absolutely incredible today, lowered his earned run average to 0.70, which is just unreal. He's striking out more batters. The walks are still an issue, but he's always been wild. And then, of course, the home runs are down. The overall extra base hits that he's giving up are down. Huascar Brazoban has been fantastic, not just out of the relief role or in the long relief role or in a certain role. He has basically been a Swiss Army knife for anything that has been going on as well with Brazoban. He has basically been put into so many different roles. We've seen him open twice already this year. We've seen him do multiple innings. We've seen him get 4 outs. We've seen him pitch in the 9th in 2-3-run games. We have seen so many different situations for Huascar Brazoban, and he has been fantastic. Obviously, him coming over in the from the trade deadline last year, he was not able to grab his footing whatsoever, but it seems like he's completely taken off since. And he's not walking batters at all. He's expanding the zone better than he ever has throughout his entire career. It's been fantastic. And then, of course, limiting the home run ball. And you're seeing everybody below 1 in the home runs per 9 category. Edwin Diaz has been completely on fire ever since they adjusted the size of his legs, or the length of his legs. They had to cut off one of his ankles, and then they had to glue it on. Just the old fashioned stuff. Sometimes you got to pop that sucker back in. But when it comes to Diaz, obviously started off a little bit rough, but this last stretch that he has had, like we said earlier in the recap, it was just snapped 30 consecutive batters that he retired. I mean, he has been that dominant. He's striking out more hitters. He's approaching that 40% range in strikeout rate that he's kind of sat at for his entire career. Obviously, the walks have been up, but the walks have also been down recently for him. And of course, he's a key piece to this bullpen, as we all know, the $102 million reliever, the richest reliever contract that has ever been given out. But it's great to see him back to form. Ryan Stanek, he's had some shortcomings, but he's also been throwing the ball pretty well. We've also had a little bit of shitty luck for him. Lots of balls put in play against him, but it seems like he's starting to get a little bit more of the swings and misses. And it also seems like he's starting to get a little bit more of the ground balls as well, which is pretty good and very, very impressive, because that's usually not something you see from Ryan Stanek. He's usually somebody who's just like, okay, here's my fastball, hit it, and hopefully you don't catch up to it. Max Kranick, great in long relief. Strikeout numbers are down for him because he seems to just be someone who likes to make pitches and contact manage. The only biggest blemish here that has been a little bit rough has been Jose Butto. Obviously, being with the inherited runners has definitely come back to bite him, and that has really not shown in his stat line. Obviously, the walks are up for him too. And then some other guys like Jose Castillo, who just came up here, has pitched some pretty good impact innings for this team, getting a decent amount of strikeouts. Seems like he's limiting base runners, and he's also expanding the zone pretty well. Brandon Waddell has had a few long relief outings. One was pretty good. One, they just kind of had him wear it a few games ago. And then, of course, AJ Minter and Danny Young, who are out for the season, which is why they are starred, but they've also been some impacts. And you see these ranks, you see they are 9th right now in innings pitched. They are 2nd in earned run average. In whip, they are 5th. FIP, or fielding independent pitching, they are 2nd. Strikeout rate, 8th. Walk rate has been 15th, which is the only thing in the middle of the pack, but it's a breath of fresh air as compared to last year, where it was dead last with relievers and starters. So definitely improvement from there. 2nd in home runs per 9, and second in wins above replacement over 60 innings, which is usually the sample that is, modeled for a lot of relievers. But we also have a few of these relievers that are probably going to go over 60 innings because they go multiple innings. Obviously, we talked about Brazovan giving his spotlight. Reed Garrett has been fantastic. Edwin Diaz has started to turn into form as well. Them being in these close games, it's been a big factor. I'm hoping that they don't wear him out. But this bullpen has been fantastic, and it's basically David Stern's specialty on display here. And you're really starting to see a lot of this pay off. You're also seeing some guys who are coming out of nowhere and contributing for you as well. So, Frank, what are you seeing from this bullpen? Because it has been it's been a lifesaver. We've had a few rough ones, but it's been fantastic for the most part, especially just depth in general and options that you have. It's just so dynamic compared to what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing is that you have just about everybody outperforming expectations. I mean, the biggest move that the Mets made for the bullpen this offseason was AJ Minter. They gave him a 2-year deal, worth a good amount of money per year, especially for a reliever. He goes down early, and this bullpen has still been really solid. It's like, imagine if you still had Minter. I mean, the bullpen would be even better. You brought back Stanek on a pretty cheap deal, but lately he's been really, really effective. I feel like they're using him less, and it feels like it's helping.
Yeah.
So maybe less is more with him as someone who is, got a little bit more mileage on the arm. I mean, he is 33 with a lot of playoff runs. So, I mean, that could be something to monitor. Whereas we talk about with Diaz,
a lot of back issues he's had too.
Yeah, exactly. Lot of back issues. But with Diaz, we've talked about the more you use him, the better. So it's like with every reliever, you kind of have to learn how to get the most out of them. But even some other guys like Genesis Cabrera, better than expected. Brazovan, Garrett, obviously. I mean, even Kranick, before spring training started, we didn't really see him as too much of a factor, but then he has such a great spring, got off to a great start this season. Lately, wasn't as good in May, but overall, it's still better than what we projected. Castillo, I mean, this is a guy that the Diamondbacks got rid of because he has 7 ERA. He's been solid. Like, he's been way better than I thought he would have been. So, I mean, it's just like these guys continuing to outperform expectations. And like we've talked about before, but Daniel Nunez was amazing for him last year. When he came up, he was the Mets' worst reliever this year. So you did it without him too. So, I mean, they've found like so many different guys to step up and still be effective. Even like Waddell, like he gave them a solid outing too. And we've seen other guys come in here, and do well with the opportunities that they've been given. So I feel like that's a credit to Stearns. You could give some credit to Jeremy Hefner, but also to the pitchers too. I mean, it's been a big key, and having a combination of at least 4 relievers that you feel really good about can take you a long way. It could really shorten the game. It can ensure more wins. It can make up for an offense that really struggles with runners in scoring position, leaves a lot of runs on the table. But they do need to get Buteau to kind of figure out what is going on here, because a lot of times he is a rough one to watch. I mean, like we talk about, whether it's inherited runners or just coming into games in general, he just has not been a fun watch, especially compared to these other relievers. And he's someone that it's like we're not really sure what we do with him, because since he has starting experience, in theory, he should be a guy that could go multi-innings, but a lot of times you just never really know what you're going to get from him when he takes the mound. But it does feel like recently, more so, you're going to get the bad version of him. And that's something that you don't want to see, because we know that you can't use Brazovan and Stanek and Garrett and Diaz every day. So you do need some other guys to step up, and really Buteau is the one that we're counting on to just be much better, because he had higher expectations. He's the one guy that's probably, I would say, underperformed and has like been below expectations, because it's like Castillo and some of these other guys should not be out pitching him.
Yeah. A little bit of an update on Daniel Nunez for those of you who want a little bit of an update here. He has had a scoreless appearance in 4 of his last 5 games back with the AAA affiliate. So again, if they're building up a little bit of consistency, getting a little bit more of the feel, obviously it was control. That was the main issue for him when he was here. He just was not hitting spots. And he had 1 blow-up game in that stretch since he's come back.
He was on pace. I know, like the sample size is so weird, because into 3-2 Thursday, you will want 9 innings, but in a walks per 9, he was at 14.7, and so like it was just bad. Like you said, the control.
That's not great.
And it's just that's not what he did. Like he was actually maybe the Mets'
No.
best reliever when it came to not walking batters. Meanwhile, this year he was the absolute worst. So it's like that
Yeah.
just wasn't
There
what
obviously
happened.
was something going on there. It seemed like he wasn't ready. It seemed like he wasn't ready. Basically all I saw, because again, it seems like he just wasn't able to make pitches, because it seemed like the stuff was still noticeable. But he just wasn't able to locate it properly. And hopefully he finds that, and he can be a piece as well, because reliever consistency, it's not possible. Sometimes guys get gassed. At the rate that we're going, someone could. But again, with Budo, could he be someone who is on his way out? Could it be somebody else? Chris Davinsky is kind of like the odd man out at this current moment. Could Danel Nunez be somebody that they consider there? Do they bring up somebody else? Who knows? Tyler Zuber is another one that impressed in spring training. Some other guys out there. Austin Warren, I'm pretty sure, pitched a few innings for this team when he was up here as like a 26th man or something, or 27th
One
man,
inning for
excuse me.
him so far. Kevin
Yeah,
Hergert 2 innings. Justin Hageman
yeah.
3 1/3. I
Herget
mean,
Herget is with the Braves now.
yeah. So I mean,
Uh,
we've seen a few different
Genesis
moves.
Cabrera signed with the Cubs when he was
Yeah,
demanding the
he's
release.
gone.
Sean Reed Foley is no longer with us, by the way. He's with the Diamondbacks, who are in a tough pickle, by the way. For those of you who are not following the Diamondbacks at this moment, what happened with Corbin Burns. So, yikes. If you guys don't know what's going on with Corbin Burns, it seemed like the body language was basically put on full display that something was going on with his arm. And,
Particularly the
that's
elbow.
pretty, that's pretty scary. Let's just say that. And we know that the Mets were very attached to him as a possibility with the Stearns connection to things like that. But you never want to see things like that, especially with such a talented pitcher like Corbin Burns, who has established himself as one of the best in this game for a long time. But pitching, irregular motion. What can you say? It happens. It's something that you can't stop. You never will, especially as this game accelerates. Speaking of injuries, let's round this thing out. Frank, I will give you the floor here with the injury report. We got some updates for some short term, some long term here. We've got a celebrity returning to our mentions that I'm sure you're excited to talk about
I'm
here.
Ecstatic. Very excited.
Frank, floor is yours. It's all yours.
All right, starting it off with Mets starting pitcher Sean Manaea threw a live bullpen session on Thursday and is expected to throw another one tomorrow, which will include 2 innings worth of up-downs. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza also added that Manaea could throw another bullpen following tomorrow's before beginning a minor league rehab assignment. The 33-year-old southpaw has been sidelined since the beginning of spring training due to a right oblique strain. Frankie Montas, Mets starting pitcher, pitched his second rehab start on Thursday night for High A Brooklyn, tossing 3 innings, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts on 49 pitches. Montas is expected to pitch his third rehab outing on Tuesday if weather permits it. The 32-year-old right-hander has been on the injured list since beginning of March after suffering a right lat strain in the first week of spring training. Brandon Nimmo, Mets outfielder, exited Saturday's game in the 7th inning due to a cramp in his right calf. Mets manager clarified that Nimmo was removed for precautionary reasons and there is no further concern. The 32-year-old was not in the starting lineup this afternoon, but came in later as a pitcher in the 8th inning and took over in left field. Drew Smith, Mets reliever and Mets Weekly podcast celebrity, will reportedly begin throwing a bullpen session for the first time next month. The 31-year-old right-hander underwent Tommy John surgery back in June of 2024 and re-signed with the Mets over the offseason to a 2-year deal that includes a 2026 club option. So very exciting. We've talked about Buteau struggling, wondering what other guys could be a factor in this bullpen. Who knows? Maybe he could be like that last piece for us at the late September to come into the playoff bullpen and just
The last
really
Infinity
hold
Stone.
it down. He could be. He could be the one that finishes it off.
God. We all know our feelings on Drew Smith. If you watched us for a long time, obviously Tommy John. I'm pretty sure this is his second of his career, like his second in like the last 4 years. So he's definitely gone through the ringer with injuries, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited to eventually see Manaea take the mound. Obviously, he was a big part of our team last year. It will obviously be a big boost to this rotation. And Frankie Montas, I think a lot of people are going a little crazy right now with seeing the results of his rehab games, which it's really just all about how he feels. And then we'll start to see what the deal is.
It's literally his spring training. So like a lot of times we talk about with pitchers, like they're just trying to find the feel for pitches too. Like I mean, it's like, oh, maybe this start I want to throw more changeups. Maybe this start I want to work on my fastball a little more. It's literally his spring training.
Yeah. They said, when
it was like as soon as he landed on the plane into Florida, he's like, "Oh, my lat doesn't work anymore." Like, so he literally needs a spring training.
I left my lat on the plane. It's missing.
I left it back home. I can't turn around. It's gone.
Damn it. Yeah. I mean, those are the types of things to happen when you arrive at spring training camp, also known as the first day of spring training, also known as the day that we hold our breaths about some sort of injury that anybody has. And we got hit pretty hard with it at the beginning. But everybody's been able to stay relatively healthy since then, which is good. But again, we'll see, how that all shapes up. Of course, we have one guy returning from injury in the upcoming series, who I think everybody is so thrilled to see as well. Speaking of the Drew Smith category, we also have Paul Blackburn, who will make his return eventually
he wasn't
to
on
the
the
mound.
report for this
If he doesn't trip over the dugout steps coming up to the, but right now we're at pace. That would be crazy.
He put that to the earth, and it's like the Mets getting ready to take them out. Booby trips. It's like game over. Everyone would blame you too because you said it. Like
yeah, it's all right. Added to the list. Anyways. Speaking of lists or awards, I don't even know what to say anymore. Studs and duds. Everybody loves this segment. So much fun. One player that was good in this series, one that was not. Frank, I will go to you on your stud for Mets versus Rockies, a very competitive series. These were two really, really good teams.
Quite a battle, but I'll give it to Francisco Lindor only because he did something that put him in the same category as Carlos Beltran, and that was in the first game of the series, we had the 2 home runs, one right-handed, one left-handed. 5th time he's done that, which is also the same amount of times Beltran did it. They said on the broadcast. So anytime you join company with him, I always love that. But just in general, I mean, he did have a very good series. I mean, he went 2 for 3 on Saturday, hits another home run today. So seeing Lindor get the power stroke from both sides is very key. And this is another stat for you. I mean, they showed it. That's like the last, I think it was like 26 games that he's hit a home run. The Mets have 1 or something like that. So it's just like Lindor home runs equal wins, and we like wins. So keep hitting home runs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we call a catalyst right there. Like just a straight up catalyst. He gets everybody going. That's a leader. Lead by example. It's what he did last year. He's continuing to do it this year. And then another thing about Francisco Lindor, another thing in history, by the way, home run that he hit.
He passed Derek Jeter with home runs.
Passed Derek Jeter in home runs by a shortstop. So
look out, Cal Ripken. We're on the way.
I don't think he's gonna. He'll catch Miguel Tejada. But I don't know if
Cal is going to be tough. He'll be at least second. Which I mean, listen, second place all-time shortstops is not bad. I mean, it's
not
really
bad. Not bad at all for a premier position. It's not bad. He's definitely on his way, on that pace to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and we are all witnessing it right now. This is a guy that is
with no all-stars.
He is in the prime of his career as of right now, and we are all witnessing it.
Being a Hall of Famer, and I know he was like All-Star with Cleveland a few times, but like all the times he wasn't All-Star with the Mets, like that's so weird. Like usually for a Hall of Famer, it's a guy that's like 12-time All-Star, something like that. But we'll see. I mean, because he's and he should have at least a couple more Gold Gloves too. But
I think this is the year he'll get it. I think we'll see those.
Oh, he's not getting the Gold Glove this year. Not all those.
No. The
All-Star he should. The Gold Gloves no.
No. Yeah. The Gold Glove, you have so many good defensive shortstops, and he's also not flashy. That kind of kills him too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been in and out with the defense, which always seems like he starts the year awful with the defense and then kind of picks it up down the stretch of the season. Either way, I'm gonna add the guy that was batting behind him and that being Brandon Nimmo. Listen, I've said this since the very beginning. This guy needs to be in the top 3 of the lineup for him to produce. And that's basically what he has been doing. It's a small sample. He is playing against some really shitty teams, obviously. But he just looks more like Nimmo. This looks like a guy taking more pitches. This looks like someone who is not trying to free swing, pound everything, is pounding everything into the dirt. I like the pull. I like the pull approach. Obviously, if you see a pitch do damage, but it also didn't seem, he also does not really get that many pitches in the strike zone in general. So with a guy like Soto behind him, or with a guy like Pete behind him, he was able to do that. Brandon Nimmo, the best thing about him, his offensive game, was the fact that he was a balanced hitter. And you want those to be your catalysts at the top, with Francisco Lindor being able to use his tools from the leadoff spot, and then right after him, Brandon Nimmo being able to use just a balanced approach in general.
It allows you to load up the bases for Brett Baty to bring you in.
Correct. Yeah, and then it also allows you to load the bases for Pete Alonso, but who knows?
It looks like a ball. It looked like a ball.
What are you gonna do? What you gonna do?
You could tap your helmet and see where that brings you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you see that?
Yes.
Nuts. Yeah. That's actually crazy.
Don't tap your helmet, guys. Don't.
All right.
Not yet.
All right. Either way, duds, the dud category for this series. Frank, you want to go to the opposite?
I mean, yeah, it's tough when you have the sweep. So like, you want to say that everyone was great. So I mean, if I had to pick one guy, I mean, I feel like it's Acuna. I mean, like we said, the WRC pluses, everything. I think he was like 38 in May, so he's not doing great when it comes to June. I mean, he takes the 0 for today, but just overall, it's like he's someone that he's not getting on base. I mean, he went 0 for 3 in the other game that he played, so it's just something where like he came off a really bad May, and you start off in June and it's still the same struggles. And like we said, we don't know what we're doing with him right now as far as his actual roster spot. And it's just, he could get the start against the left-handers because he's a right-handed hitter. And I know you don't love Jeff McNeil, but at some point we can't just say, oh, well, the guy's right-handed, so he gets the start. I mean, eventually, like, something's got to give here where you need to put your best players out there.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that switch hitter in AAA right now. Like everybody can talk about like this is how it's felt for me. Like I don't know, for like more than a year now. Like everybody can talk about their Brett Beatty's and their Jeff McNeils and the Luis Angel Acuna and the Jet Williams. I'm waiting for Ronnie Mauricio. That's what I've been waiting for a long time, for him to heal up. I've been willing to wait this out as long as I want, because that's the guy who I think that can make a huge impact on this roster with the tools that he has. We'll see. We'll see if they let him pull. But a big guy like that, him trying to slap to the opposite field would kind of look a little goofy, wouldn't it? It would be kind of like,
I mean, we've seen goofy.
Yeah, we definitely have. We've seen a lot. It's crazy. Let's see where I want to go at it, because I feel like we've had some really good performances and some really bad from the same player in this. Like we had one guy who had a bad game, had another one. Like, I don't know, in general. I think, you can put Alvarez in this category. Like it's pretty easy to say that. Obviously the mental mistakes are things that are just very poorly, executed. The whole, I was getting to a point where I'm like, okay, we need to bench him. Like that type of stuff needs to get benched. Like you need to be held accountable for that. But he ended up being safe. He beat that out. But it's like, that's the type of laziness that I don't want to see. Whether it's affecting him or not or whatever. Like these are the types of things that I just, and also these ABs have just been brutal. Like from him, it's just brutal, completely brutal. But either way, another shout out here. Obviously, I'll give some credit to Brett Baty. He had a really good series, especially on both sides of the ball as well. Like I've said, it's all about consistency. It's got to keep going. I'm not completely sold yet. Obviously, I still need to see more, but he's on a really good track right now, and he's really helping this team win. Tyrone Taylor, another great, a guy he's winning baseball. It's winning baseball. It's where you're seeing, is he going to keep up what he's doing with the bat as of right now? Probably not. But you don't expect him to do that. And again, it'll be very interesting with some of the young guys, Jose Siri, what happens with that. There's plenty of roster spots, or not roster spots. There's plenty of roster construction and plenty of transactions that have yet to be made that are on the docket for this year. So I'm very interested to see how they do that. Don't forget the pass ball on Alvarez. Did he have a pass ball?
Yeah, I mean, you got to catch the ball to be a catcher. I mean, you don't want to do that either. So
yeah, I think was that in against Chicago, or was that in this series? Because I know he had one go through his glove or something.
Yeah, I think that one was Chicago, but I mean,
yeah.
Listen, it's hard to keep track when you have like multiple mistakes being made. Which one happened when?
Yeah. Ricardo saying that I agree. Mauricio is the crown jewel of this organization. I mean, I don't know if he's the top notch of top notch, because he's definitely rough around the edges. We know that he does. He has some flaws, but he's the type of guy that's like, if this pans out, this could be something really special. You know what I mean? That's basically how that's basically how I see it. It's something of, how do we build on this, of how he can continue to improve? Like, how can he continue to improve as a player? And obviously, without that being stunted with the ACL tear, that was pretty devastating the way that it was, and it's taken a long time for him to get back. But we're getting very close. We are getting very, very close. But if they think that he needs a little bit more ABs down there in AAA, that's fine. Take your time. It's okay. Like you said in the chat, the chat version of Frank saying that Ronnie is batting 515 in AAA. Yeah. So right now, he's been fantastic so far in AAA. We've seen him tear up AAA before, and hopefully, it continues. I'm really, really excited to see him back on the field, because I think that he can make a massive impact from all dimensions, just not just hitting, not just, from the defensive standpoint. I think that there's plenty of upside there. And I'm willing to wait it out. I'm willing to wait it out. Either way, we can't wait out what's coming up next, which is a series with the Los Angeles Dodgers, which is 4 games in LA. Now, we did take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, so that means that we are automatically the better team. Haha. Now, as for these pitching probables that I'm about to pull up, these Dodgers probables are not completely official, but this is how it is lining up as of right now. So don't completely quote me on it, because it just has not been announced yet, but this is how it is lining up, considering how it has been lined up. But the Mets have already announced their 4 starters for this. So as for these probables for Mets Dodgers in Los Angeles, we have Paul Blackburn, who will be activated off the injured list and make his 2025 season debut in the series opener, and he will face the hard-throwing right-hander Dustin May. First pitch is tomorrow at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time on Pix 11. Game 2 will go to Tyler McGill. He's looking to continue some consistency, something that's haunted him in May. Hopefully he can keep it up, and he'll face the future first ballot Hall of Famer, Clayton Kershaw. First pitch will be Tuesday at 10:10, just like the first game, Eastern Time on SNY this time. Game 3 will go to Griffin Canning, looking to bounce back from his worst start as a Met last time out. The Dodgers have yet to announce that starter. Most likely will be a bullpen game, something we were used to seeing in that NLCS. We saw that twice. And first pitch will be Wednesday at 10:10 Eastern Time on SNY. And of course, Game 4 will go to David Peterson. And he is lined up to face Tony Gonsolin, who got completely rocked by the Yankees, I'm pretty sure, the last
Yeah, it
outing that
wasn't a
he
great
had.
start. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
it
game
was not
one
great.
of the series. It wasn't good. I mean, the Dodgers still
No.
won, but he gave up 5 runs. So a lot of
Yeah.
long balls. He walked some batters. So
Yeah.
definitely not pretty.
Yeah. First pitch, 4:10. So that's your matinee there. So 3 straight games, staying up at 10 o'clock. Frank, this is going to be fun, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, they're testing
This is
the
going to be a
sleep schedule for
blast.
sure.
I mean, we know what this Dodgers team is capable of. This is one of the best teams in all of baseball. We already played them at Citi Field. You know, could this be the Michael Conforto revenge series? Who knows? Could Tommy
Don't
Edman
count
come
on
back
it.
to haunting us once again?
He hit a
Um,
home run today.
he did hit a home run
That's the
today.
lone Dodgers run
He's
so
always
far.
there. He's always there. So we'll see. It's a big test. This first game with Paul Blackburn, can't say I'm not scared to death about it. I'm not gonna lie. Fun fact is crazy, crazy enough. I know he was with the A's, but he's never faced the Dodgers in his career, which is
Being injured
crazy.
will do that to you.
Yeah, being injured will do that to you. Also, being in the American League with the A's for all of your career, it also will do that. And we just started playing every single game. Paul Blackburn will be coming back tomorrow. He'll get game 1 to set the tone, obviously, as the usual ace does. And we will get, what we can get here. Let's see. He's obviously the 6th starter in this rotation. They're giving an extra day. And then, these pitching matchups, we'll see how they do against somebody like Dustin May. I'm hoping that they do a little bit more damage against Kershaw this next time out. Obviously, it was with the rain delay.
Yeah.
So he didn't really end up pitching that much, but it didn't seem like they got going at that point. And, just looking to build on it. Just continue. This is a big 4 games right here. And I'm to be honest, I'm surprised none of the national broadcasts have stole any of these. I'm not going to lie. Even 4:00 here.
They don't do during the week, really. I mean, they like the weekends. And, I mean, they have ESPN tonight. So, I mean, they can't have all the national TV stuff.
Is there anything you want to add with this whole thing? Because obviously we had the Dodgers just here a few games ago. So going to LA. Going to LA.
I mean, like you said, the Mets just played the Dodgers last weekend. The Mets, significantly better home team. Now they're going to face the Dodgers, who are a significantly better home team. So, I mean, that's a big one right off the bat. And then, as we saw, the Dodgers offense, it wasn't looking as great against the Mets. But, I mean, this Yankees series, game 1, they scored 8 runs. So they overcame Gonsolin's start. They scored 18 runs yesterday, winning 18-2. But now tonight they're down 4-1 with Ryan Yarbrough on the mound and their ace Yamamoto on the mound. He couldn't get through 4 innings. So I mean, it's a bit of a interesting series for the Dodgers. We'll see how the rest of this game wraps up. But I mean, we talk about 0-100, go from 18-1. I mean, that is a very big difference, especially the competition. I mean, you're facing Max Fried in this series, so it's just very surprising seeing what's
baseball's
happening here.
that, I guess.
Baseball's like that. Mookie Betts currently nursing an injury, so don't think we'll see him this series. But other than that, the Dodgers have enough depth to where it's like, oh, will you get more Kike Hernandez, who another guy crushed him as last year, but it's not the postseason. So he's a guy that really turns it on then. So it's always a tough matchup. I mean, the 4-game set that we'll see, like I said, Blackburn his first start out. Luckily, I mean, Blackburn got so many minor league rehab starts that he really built up his arm. I mean, I think he did like 7 innings in one of those rehab starts. So even though it's
Blackburn,
even though it's like his season debut, his arm is still pretty built up. So he needs to get there first by like not giving up a ton of runs. But overall, it's not like a lot of times where it's like if it's someone's season debut, they might not be able to work deep into the game because of their health, but he should be ready to go if he could get there. So it's going to be a great matchup, like you said, going against a bullpen game. Obviously, a team you played the NLCS on the road, West Coast. Like, it's just a really nice test for this team. I mean, Anthony Banda just came out the bullpen. Now they're going to Trevino. So, I mean, the Dodgers are already using a good amount of arms tonight. So, we'll see how many they end up using by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, we have an off day today. So, again, when it comes to that Blackburn start...
Do we? I mean, we just played. It wasn't an off day.
Not off day, but we get a decent amount of rest because you have a day game in between to a night game, so it's like
and you get 3 extra hours.
You get 3 extra hours, yeah, and then you like time travel because you go to different time zones, right? Is that how that works? I don't know.
Something
I
you
didn't
go
pay
in some kind
attention
of
in
time
geo.
machine. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't pay attention in globe class. I don't know. Anyways,
Spin the globe class.
spin the globe class and see what you
Yeah.
land on. But I think if you look at this Dodgers team, one thing I will point out here is they do have a decent amount of platoons here. So I really do think they're going to load up the lefties against Paul Blackburn. Listen, it's whatever has rest, because again, our bullpen was, I think what I was trying to say here was the fact that our bullpen is well rested because of the 7 innings you got from Clay Holmes. I think I just, you know,
And even
obviously,
yesterday with the big win, I mean, they used
yeah.
Buteau, but they used Daviensky, who's probably
Yeah.
getting sent down for Blackburn. So, I mean, overall, like, the bullpen is
All I'm
as
asking
bad as
from
rested as you
Blackburn,
could be.
all I'm asking here from Blackburn, get into the 5th inning. Just get into the 5th inning. I don't care. I don't care how you do it. Just get into the 5th inning. That's all I ask. I don't need you to go 6 scoreless. Just get into the 5th inning. Okay? Because then you can hand it off to one of our multi-inning guys and it'll be fine. Just don't be a complete dumpster fire off the bat. Like, I don't want to see the first pitch that you throw is a meatball down the middle and Shohei Ohtani sends it to the other stadium in Los Angeles where the Angels play, where he used to play.
Yeah.
Where he used to play. So,
He had a lot
I don't
of home
want
runs in this
see
series.
that.
I mean, he's up to 21 on the season. And then, I mean, he had so many home runs that he ran out of batteries and fell asleep in the dugout yesterday. So, I mean,
Wow.
at least he'll be well rested now after sleeping during the game yesterday.
I didn't get much sleep last night, so I was kind of in that same boat there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, also me and Otani have the same talent level, so again, it's very relatable there. Either way, as for some other things, we do have a little bit of time here. So if anybody in the chat here wants to bring in some of your comments, Ricardo saying, I think Acuna is going to be a platoon player, nothing more. It's hard to tell with platoons because against lefties, it seems like is he worse against them or is he better? Who's got the reverse splits? That's the right-handed bat. Is that Acuna? Acuna's got
No, I think Marte had reverse at one point in the season, so it could be him. I feel like Acuna's bad against both sides, especially lately.
I think he's been a plus against one. Is it?
Does he have any?
Yeah, he's been better against lefties. It's not really crazy, like 702 OPS against lefties. Like,
wow,
sick, bro, sick. 108 weighted runs created plus against lefties. Yeah, I don't know. I think we saw really the capacity of what we are seeing from Acuna. He's just not like the bat ain't there. Gives you the tools. That's basically pretty much it. Let's see what else that we have here. Yes. All right. Let's see. All right. I think we should be okay for the rest here. So any final thoughts, Frank, obviously going into this Dodgers series, traveling across the country, going from New York to Los Angeles, and 4 games, 3 straight night games. This should be fun. I know we're gonna be attended to some fun post games. Let's just say I would not want to catch the wrath of Frank if they blow something in like let's not have how about let's not have the 13 inning game we had against the Dodgers up here in New York. How about that?
No,
that would be sick.
That won't fly. Not on a
That'd be
10-10
sick.
game. No, don't. Yeah. Please don't do that.
That would probably kill us all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things you have to at least consider it. I mean, Diaz so far he's perfect in save opportunities. I'll tell you what, he loves to blow a late game. So I don't know if you have bets on it, but if you're betting for like Diaz's first blown save, not the worst bet. Just saying.
I we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We've seen some House of Horror ballparks for Diaz. But we've also seen another reliever of the West Coast swing who tends to blow it. Who we mentioned today. We didn't mention.
Yes, at least he can't pitch tomorrow. But I mean,
No.
it's a good thing we brought up the 13 inning game because on May 31st, so that was yesterday. But the Mets had a doubleheader in 1964, and it was like the longest combined doubleheader. It was 32 innings because they played 23 innings in the game against the Giants in the night game. So we shouldn't have a game like that anymore, thanks to the Ghost Runner.
Yeah, we hopefully. I was very surprised, to be honest, to see the Dodgers, who have been really, really good with runners in scoring position this year, the way that they were squandering that entire game.
I remember they're hitting over 300 at least.
They've been like insane.
So.
Yeah, they've been ridiculous with runners in scoring position. And they just weren't able to get it in. Maybe it's just the Mets, the pitching voodoo that they have right now. Speaking of parallels and things like that. One thing we obviously have to point out, we know that this time of year, on May 31st or May 30th, around there, Jorge Lopez was DFA'd by the Mets for throwing his glove in the crowd. And so was Omar Narvaez, the whole turnaround for the Mets. Now, what happened yesterday, apparently, same span of 24 hours, just a year later, the Nationals DFA'd Jorge Lopez. So, all I can say is keep Grimace away from DC. Like, keep him away from the politics. Keep him away from the nation's capital.
They've been playing
they
better
won't go on
recently,
a ridiculous run.
I mean, they're ahead of the Braves now as far as records. I know the Braves have been bad, but I mean, they've been playing a little better.
Nationals have played better, a lot better.
They won their Juan Soto trade. I mean, they came out very, very good for a guy that was on rental.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. Like they've done a really good job.
They did well.
They have. We'll see. Anyways, it'll all be fun because these are two of the best teams in the National League as it currently sits. Hopefully it is worth it to stay up as late as loyal Mets fans will have to on the East Coast here. But hey, it just happens. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok, which mainly features Frank's post-game reactions after every single regular season game. Follow all of us individually, including our third Mike, Andrew, who is not here today. And finally, of course, onto the West Coast we go. Good sweep of the Rockies. They got what they needed to do. They get English. Hold on. They did what they needed to do. There you go. Got it. And now they move on to Los Angeles, and then they go to play the Rockies again. Very weird scheduling, but hey, we're just going to have to play through it. We will see you guys next time. Let's go Mets. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening.